My name's Mark Walmer. I'm a lawyer with 35 years of experience in Pennsylvania. My practice has been in Lancaster County. I've been a trial room attorney for 35 years, and now my practice is limited to helping people clear criminal records through the use of pardons and expungements. Why do I need an attorney to clear my Pennsylvania record? Attorneys are specialists. Obviously, there's things that they do well. Specifically with regards to criminal records and clearing them, I think a criminal lawyer can be helpful and beneficial. So the first way that an attorney is helpful is in being able to obtain and read a criminal record. Criminal records are filled with Latin, legal language, and terms and conditions that are not readily translatable to regular people. They don't know what their records say. I do. I know what section under the statute they're written. I know whether they're misdemeanors or felonies. I know what needs a pardon and what can be expunged. So that part, from even getting your record and reading it to see what can be cleared and when, is something that I can be very helpful with. How long will a felony stay on your record in Pennsylvania? The ultimate answer is a misdemeanor or felony conviction stays on your record until you get it forgiven by the governor through the use of filing a pardon application. What if you have multiple cases? Well, I have clients that have multiple cases, and in fact, it's really not that unusual from somebody usually young or dealing with drugs to have multiple convictions. Especially somebody who is using drugs tends to fall into this spiral where they start using drugs, they get a possession, they get a paraphernalia, they start stealing from their family and their relatives, they steal checks and they write checks. Now they have forgery felony convictions to get the money in order to get the drugs, and then they get the retail theft so that they can steal stuff so they can sell it so they can continue their spiral into drug use. And it's not unusual to have somebody with 2 or 3 or 5 docket numbers over a certain number of years or even a number of months. So the fact that multiple dockets exist does not change the story that you have to tell. They want to know, why did the crimes occur? What have you done with your life since then? And how is the record holding you back? Why are you a good candidate now? Is what the board wants to know. The process of preparing a pardon application is more complicated if you have multiple dockets, because we have to request court records for every docket. Sometimes we request court records from several different counties when somebody was committing crimes in several different counties. So our preparation process tends to be more complicated. And if you have multiple criminal dockets, you get charged more for that. But that multiple dockets in and of themselves is not any kind of disqualification from asking for the forgiveness. The documents that have to be filed with a pardon application. The Governor's Board of Pardons is looking specifically for the criminal complaint, the affidavit of probable cause, the bill of information, the guilty plea documents, and the sentencing sheet, as well as a statement of whether or not fines and costs have been paid. If there is a hearing scheduled, what do they need to know? How should they prepare? If I'm representing somebody, I would get notice of the fact that they have been invited to do a hearing in front of the board. There are 2 hearings or interviews that are possible in front of the board, so I'm going to back up and answer that. Once your application is filed, the board will acknowledge it. Then you will receive notice that an investigator wants to contact you in order to verify some of the facts in the pardon application. That is going to feel like an interview. It's not in front of the board, it's by an investigator, and the investigator will tell you exactly what he wants to talk to you about. That interview would be by phone, and I would prep you for it. So that is an interview that happens after the application is filed. The next notice you might get, or that I would get, is the fact that the board is going to do a merit review in order to vote independently among the board about whether or not your application has enough votes to move forward to interview you. So the merit review is simply a Zoom meeting where the 5 board members review a list of names and vote whether or not they want to invite the candidate to do a presentation. I sit in on every one of those merit reviews, and what we want is for your application to get at least 2 out of the 5 votes. And if they do, then you will receive a letter to do a public presentation. Am I able to review the facts of my case? Well, if you use our services, we're going to get your criminal complaint and your affidavit and send it to you and review it with you. We prep you for the interview. You already have a copy of your pardon application. I'm going to call and review it with you before the merit review, and you're always going to have the facts of your case because we will have reviewed that before we wrote the answer to the pardon question of how did the crime occur. What if my case is rejected? The rules say that you have to wait a year and then you can ask again. There's very few of our pardon applications that don't receive pardons. Some of that is because we're good at reviewing the age of the case, recommending people to wait until maybe they hit a sweet spot in their life, and also because the police of Pennsylvania have given out literally tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of marijuana cases, but now the legislature is very, very close to decriminalizing or, just decriminalizing marijuana. And so along those lines, if the board gets a pardon application for a misdemeanor pot possession charge, I think they're going to greenlight it. How do you check if your record has been expunged in PA? You go to recorderaser.net, my website. Give me your first name, last name, date of birth. I'll research the UJS record to see what can be cleared and when. If it's an old misdemeanor charge and it doesn't show up on the UJS portal, that doesn't mean it's gone. So then the next thing I would recommend is writing to the Pennsylvania State Police for an SP-170 full access review criminal history. That is the deep dive of the Pennsylvania State Police criminal record. It's a specific form that needs to be filled out, that needs to be requested with a check for $20. I'll be glad to do it for you, or you can go get your own. It takes them a month or two to return an FAR, we call it, a PSP FAR. Once you get that, if that record is clear and it's not showing up on the UJS portal, then I think you could assume that your record has been expunged. But in general in Pennsylvania, records don't expunge themselves and they don't go away. What they occasionally do is get hidden. And so I would follow the process of doing UJS record request and then requesting a PSP 170, or going to recorderaser.net, putting in your information. It's just me and Maria and my wife will research your record and tell you what can be cleared and when, and give you free advice about how to take the next steps, because there's never a fee quoted till we know what it is we're talking about getting rid of. You need to know what's on your record. Everything begins with getting criminal record research to see what's on your record and what can be cleared and when through the use of pardons and expungements. So go to recorderaser.net, give me your first name, last name, date of birth, so I can try to find your record and tell you what can be cleared and when. It's where it all starts.